So the Batman, it ended off. It sort of had an arc to it. We started off saying, talking about how it was visually look good. At the start of the Batman, we saw his sort of arc going throughout the movie. We start off with him sort of wanting vengeance, pure vengeance. But at the end of the film, we saw him reaching out his hand to help people.
Yeah.
The iconic scene that we talked about, how visually stunning it looked, with this red, I forgot the word again. Flare. Yeah. In the sea of darkness, he was the light. He was the hope that people were looking up to.
Yeah.
So he's gone through this arc where, and this is the only way he could exact vengeance was through his fists. Now he's using his hands to help people. And that's exactly what brings us to our sort of next conversation, which, when we're talking about things like in sci-fi, these themes, they teach us about ourselves.
Yeah.
The premise of Disclosure Day was the exact same thing like that. So can I just sort of just ask, like, can you understand someone who is nothing like you?
No, I probably couldn't, I think. And I understand, like, obviously you're always told to, try and put yourself in other shoes, but like fundamentally there's things that you will just see completely different to another person. And like, I think depends on how similar we are. If it's someone who's completely opposite, like, I don't know, not necessarily like has to be opposite in everything I do, but if there's quite a lot of differences, it would be hard to be able to almost see things from their point of view, because you'll always have that bias of seeing things from your point of view. It's why we have, arguments and all these debates in the first place, because one side views something like one side sees something like another, and it's very, very difficult to get them to view it from the other person's point of view and come to like a sort of compromise or conclusion to it.
Middle ground.
Yeah. So I think for me personally, I think depends on how similar they are, but if they are quite different, I think, I really do struggle to sort of see things from their point of view. So put myself in their shoes almost. Yeah.
It's interesting you say that, because we both watched Disclosure Day. What did you sort of think about the movie before coming in? Did you watch any trailers?
I did not watch a single trailer. The only thing I had going off of it was the image that I saw of the woman standing with the weather thing. So I was going in thinking it would be like some sort of like doomsday of like, oh, there's going to be some like bad weather or like some disasters coming. Yeah. So that's what I came in thinking, and then I was
Good point, actually. Yeah, I thought the same thing.
Yeah, there was like nothing. It was like absolutely nothing related to that.
What did you come out feeling then after watching it?
I think it very much changed sort of, or like, I don't know, my viewpoint very much shifted, because obviously I think around like the like first quarter of the movie, that's when I realized, oh, actually it's not what I expected to be. So I think because of that, now I went in pretty much blind to it, so I had no idea what to expect. And I think coming out of it, I was a lot more like, you remember, I like almost couldn't say anything, because like it was that I was just trying to comprehend everything I just watched,
everything you've seen.
There was like so much to it, like there was quite a lot of nuances as well, and like like a lot of sort of viewpoints and like just difficult questions that were sort of raised and asked in that movie, which I think, it took me a while to even come to what I even thought about the movie.
Yeah, and I like that you said that it's when you came out of it, you sort of, there's a lot of questions that came up into your head. I think it questioned yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
Because when we think about sci-fi, aliens, robots, time travel, supernatural things, we don't normally associate them with like human emotions, because by their nature they're not really human. But I feel like a lot of sci-fi movies, they touch on a very human emotions. Of course, fear is the most common one. We have movies like, I'm trying to think, what's the one with the xenomorph aliens?
Oh, like what? Not. I was gonna say
Predator or something?
Predator, something
Is
like
it?
that. Yeah,
I can't
Alien,
remember.
Romulus. I know that was one of
Romulus.
his.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, stuff like
as
that.
film buffs, we should know this. I'll be
Yeah,
honest with you.
yeah.
I forgot the title of it, but
Or like Life as well.
All Our Life, yeah,
That's a
that
good one.
movie, yeah, where it comes
Mm.
from fear. So the human emotion is that we fear the unknown. You can sort of equate that to how we sort of live today. We see politicians, we see people talking about foreign aliens coming to different countries and occupying those spaces. I'm not going to get too political, but like it sort of mirrors these sort of movies mirror human real life situations that we're living in. Yeah, we are scared of things we don't know about. It's true. Even like movies like The Arrival. I'm not sure if you've watched that one. Have you watched that one?
I think I have. Wait, yeah, The Arrival. That was, yeah, when like they came and like, yes, yeah, I have.
And then they had to learn a new language.
Yeah.
Did you know they actually had a real linguistic
how do
you say this word?
Linguist. I think
Yeah, linguist.
Yeah.
Okay, linguist. They had a real linguist
Oh.
that actually created that alien language. They had to basically make and translate. But underneath the whole sci-fi wow factor of it, there was a sort of underlying theme of grief and time. Do you think it's important for movies to explore these sort of emotions within sci-fi? Do you actually? I think the real question is, do you expect them to?
Yeah, because I think the thing when it comes to sci-fi movies is I think it also like kind of puts the question of what would you do in that situation. I feel like a lot of them, or not necessarily question that, but it gives you the opportunity to think about what would I do if I was in that same situation. So what choices would I make? How would I view things?
Yeah.
So I think it is important that they do explore that, because that is sort of what would we do? What would we think? How would we treat these things? How would we react? What is our initial, are we, fearful of it? Are we trying to understand it? Are we trying to empathize with it? I think a lot of these emotions are heightened when it comes to the unknown. And I think that's something that I think it is very good that sci-fi movies explore that, because I think that's a key sort of like a key what's the word, like a key like decider of how the movie ends up running, or like how it progresses. It depends on how the humans react, what is their immediate thoughts and reactions to that situation, and that sort of drives how they end up, how the story ends up playing out. So I think it is very important that they always look into that first, like explore what people think about it.
I think a lot of it, they do just take human situations, and you could be said that these major plot, these heavy themes, because they're wrapped in this sci-fi bubble, it makes them more palatable for us to think about.
Yeah.
You look at things like Interstellar, and again, time and how much time you actually spend with your loved ones. We see Cooper, the main character, being lost in space in a planet where every minute was like a couple years on Earth, and it makes you really think that if you were in his position, like, do you want to be wasting your time in space away from your loved ones? And in the end, we see how it concludes of, eventually his family, his daughter does have her own family of her own, and he's able to see that. It's a good ending, but because of these themes, because it was wrapped in this sci-fi sort of wrapper, it made it a little bit more palatable for us. Because I feel like if you had made it about regular humans, if you had made certain discourses like racism, for instance, fear of the unknown, fear of alien residents, fear of people, right? If you rooted it in real human people, do you think it would be palatable for people to actually take and understand? Would they even come out and understand what you're saying?
Nah, I think at that point, because it has that real sort of world connection,
Yeah.
I think that immediately almost like biases people's sort of viewpoints
Yeah.
to it. Like I think it causes them to sort of bring in their own sort of like preconceived ideas and notions
Mhm.
already. Whereas, yeah, when you, like you said, when it is a sci-fi thing, you don't necessarily always will bring that in. Yeah, you can sort of almost appreciate it for what it is,
Yeah.
and then sort of build on that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
Mm,
I'm glad you mentioned that because we go back to this Disclosure Day.
mm,
It's not just about the alien arrival.
mm.
There's so many different themes littered throughout. You mentioned one of them. Do you remember one of the things that you
Yeah,
mentioned
yeah. It
that
was
you
my
liked?
question of, I think they brought up was like, what was it like? Do they have the right to
Mhm.
decide what information is shared with the world or not,
Mhm.
knowing that that information could potentially be cause
A
extreme
lot
damage,
of
or it could also be good. You don't know.
you don't know.
So, do they have the right to decide that it is? Do they have the right to decide? Yes, we do need to share this, or no,
Mhm.
we shouldn't share it.
There's sort of two sides to the coin because
Mm,
there's for those who haven't watched it, but it's been out in cinemas for a while now. There's an organization that's keeping all of these aliens sort of secret with
mm,
alien technology, and it's concealing it from the world and has been doing it for years.
mm,
And then obviously there are internal agents that want to share this information to the rest of the world. There's two sides of the coin because the one that are protecting civilians, you could have an argument for them
mm,
and say, yeah, you know what? I understand that because, like you said, there'll be
mm.
widespread panic. In fact, why don't you tell me what you're thinking about
Yeah,
what
because
it was?
I think as well they even brought up like religion into it a bit as well.
Yes.
Like they were saying like, yes, now if they were to reveal, aliens are real.
Yeah.
They've existed. They've been to our planet multiple times. Their ships and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And like, yes, it's real. It's undeniable evidence that this is all real.
Mm-hmm.
How would people react? What are their immediate thoughts to it?
Mm-hmm.
People could end up losing their faith, or people could end up rioting, or trying to overthrow the government. Or there's like a lot of negatives that could happen because of it, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, there's also some positives that could happen.
Mhm.
It opens people's eyes to the ideas of what's out there. So I think it is interesting sort of question of you know, do you like who decides what
Who
sort of
decides?
information
Yeah.
gets shared or not?
Because yeah, like you said, widespread panic. Lots of
Mm,
people maybe lose their faith and everything. But then in the movie, we saw the nun.
mm,
If you remember what she said, she was like, in fact, she's always believed that there's other things out
yeah.
there. This doesn't shake her faith
Mm,
that there is now some other life
mm,
out there. In fact, it sort of emboldens it.
yeah, yeah.
And that's where another theme comes in. I think the whole premise of that movie was actually about empathy.
Mm,
And I sort of described it to you that the main character, her power is to empathize with
empathize.
people.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's in the way that she is able to understand what they need, and she knows exactly what they need and says it at the
Mm,
right time. There was a scene where there's a foreign person talking to a news reporter,
mm,
and he was speaking in his language.
mm,
The translator wasn't doing a good job.
mm,
So with this new power that she's been given from the aliens, she was able to translate what he
mm,
said
mm.
and actually speak in his language.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
because of that, it touched him. It reached his heart, and he
Mm.
was able to actually calm down because he was frustrated
Frustrated,
initially.
yeah.
He'd be calmed down,
Mm,
and throughout the movie, we see her sort of touching people, and then they understand. They see someone they love maybe
mm,
in her expressions, in her face, and they sort of have a different countenance.
mm,
But that's because she understood what they were worried about, and
mm,
she would say, oh, that your son, maybe do take him to the hospital, or maybe
mm,
it's not the hospital, maybe do take him to football practice.
mm.
I'm sure he'd really like that. It's a lot of things that people have been weighing up in their minds, but
Yeah.
knowing that is enabled them to sort of take a step back and really understand, and it drew people closer together. So that's what I'm saying. The real theme of the movie was empathy.
Yeah.
The aliens was only a small section of it,
Yeah.
but really, the powerful message come from empathy, and
Mm.
it's sort of how do I put this? the need for it in humans. If we understood how each of us felt, there wouldn't be conflict.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be wars. We would all get along with each other because empathy allows us to understand a person. Empathy is linked also, in my opinion, to observation. If you're a very observant person, you can look at someone and see how they're acting and sort of get a feel of what they're going through.
Yeah.
And having empathy allows you to be observant. Lack of empathy is what causes all the things that we see in the world. A lot of misconception or misunderstandings because we sort of lack that empathy part of things. So it was just something I wanted to sort of talk about. That I feel like that was one of the things a lot of reviews don't talk about.
As much.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think people couldn't see what the movie? Because I'll be honest, reading reviews, a lot of people have been saying it's not the best. It's Spielberg has lost it. It was a mess. It was just left and right. Things were happening, and I understand that it might have been confusing. But why do you think people can't see the sort of nuances, the themes, the underlying message? Why do you think people can't see that?
I think because I think it kind of comes back to your point of the empathy. I think for some reason, I think they probably weren't able to put themselves into the movie. Like, I think maybe they did see, her talking and showing up as their loved ones and, making them react in a certain way, but they didn't sort of put themselves in the shoes of those characters and why, seeing that would change them so much, if that makes sense. I think they probably focused more on the actual, I guess, story of it, like the actual end goal of the whole, why the organization exists and what their purpose is. I think that's probably what they were more focused on rather than the journey of getting there and why she was making the choices she was, why she was always interacting with people whenever she could. I think that's not what they focused on.
I totally understand what you're saying.
And I think as well, a little bit of what I was also thinking was, I think it also a bit ties back to what we also said about the show tell and like the dialogue as well a little bit. I think a lot of what she was saying obviously was tailored to that person. So if you just look at her words at face value, they don't make any sense, or like they don't seem impactful, or like it just doesn't make sense why, like why does saying, oh, take them to target practice, or they really appreciate you, or something like that. Why does that have such an impact on people? If you're just looking at it at face value on just what she's saying alone, you won't really, I don't know, you don't get that same sort of feel. You don't really understand, I guess, see the empathy part of it.
You don't see the empathy.
You're just looking at the words of what she's saying, if that makes sense.
Could it be that that's just how we are as humans? We're just not as empathetic enough to sort of, but I'm not trying, the thing is, right, me saying all this is like, oh, we're able to see things in movies that maybe people can't see. I feel like, I think I mentioned this to you when we finished watching Spider-Man. I said that there's a lot of deliverables. People were looking for deliverables in that movie. I'll be honest, the end of the movie, they just disclosed it. It hit that deliverable and that was it. I think a lot of people's gripes was that there wasn't more that came out of it. There wasn't more of a conclusion per se. It was disclosed, alien was revealed, and it ends there. That's where the movie ends. But like you say, it's the journey. It's what we're hitting in between. So I mentioned to you about deliverables. So deliverables, things you get at the end, but the outcomes are two different things. Outcomes and deliverables to me are two different things. Deliverables is set in stone. We did this, we did this, we did this. Outcomes are based on the journey. Outcomes are based on so an outcome of that movie was that we said, okay, humans need to be more empathetic. Okay, humans need to not fear the unknown. Actually, it's a good thing that, we do get to see these things that are happening, make our own decisions on things.
Yeah.
That was the outcomes of the movie. So we talked about this empathy. How does that play out with friends, family? How does that play out in person, in real life? How can we apply what she did in the movie into our real life? Is what I'm trying to say. What do you think?
I think part of it, I guess, comes down to letting the person sort of share their point of view.
Yeah.
And also, I guess, the other person also being willing to share their point of view, if that makes sense. So, like, for example, like the example you brought at the start where she was talking to that Chinese guy who was talking about it, stuff and getting heated.
I think it's Korean.
Oh, Korean. Oh, shoot.
Whatever.
But yeah, like, when he was sort of explaining to it, even in that second, even though she had already touched him and sort of went into his mind and sort of knew a bit, she still gave him that sort of leeway to still explain himself, to still say something. And she talked back to him. And then that's when she fully understood what he wanted. And that's when she now explained to the advisor or whoever was next to her what he was actually trying to say. So I think it was that communication. Like, yes, she still knew what he wanted, but she still gave him that, a chance to say his piece a little bit. And I think she did it with a few other people as well later on. She still gave them that chance to say something.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what we should apply to, family, to our relationships as well, to have that communication where, you listen, first of all, you listen to them. You're not, trying to speak over to them. But also, I think it also does also fall on the other person as well to actually say it, like, yes, it might be hard to put into words exactly what you say, but like being able to even just try at least to really try and share your, like, almost like unfiltered thoughts a bit, then that can help you to really, at least it helps the other person to more empathize with how you view things, how you're seeing something, how you're seeing this situation or whatever it is.
Your life or perspective on things. I think that is the problem with humans at the moment, is that we fear oversharing and telling people about our lives because we've been burned, because we've met the people that take this information and twist it.
Yeah.
And again, it's one of the themes, it's one of the things that this movie talks about. The information that she's gathering from these people, at the end of the day, it's sci-fi.
Yeah.
She's basically reading their mind in a way. We're not able to do that. But with the information, she gives it specific to that person. With the information, she gives her thoughts and reasonings and what she thinks about to that person. It's not being shared to someone else. It's sort of kept within that sort of interaction with them too. And that is something we need to sort of take in ourselves. Again, the world we live in, if everyone was as empathetic, then yeah, we would be able to share freely about what we're doing, what our life's about.
Yeah.
But then there's another side to that coin. Could you say that you can be overly empathetic. Too empathetic?
Yeah, I'd say so. And I think the movie even touched on that a little bit with her. Like, we saw at one point, she was struggling within herself even. She was like, I'm seeing everyone. I don't, to the point where she didn't even know who she was as a person, So I think, there's a possibility of us being too empathetic or too willing, or not really willing, or I guess willing, it would be willing, but like too, like, I guess, too focused on others that we forget about ourselves.
That's right.
And because we forget about ourselves, it could end up, causing either harm to us or like causing harm to us because we're not, focused on, our well-being, our thoughts, our, things. So we might end up becoming sort of like a people pleaser as well. At times it could cause that, because you're always trying to appeal to this person, when, you know, sometimes that might not be the thing that they needed at the time as well, or the thing that they needed to hear. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it is possible to be too empathetic.
Yeah. Like you say, yeah, it was perfectly shown in the movie where she sort of had a breakdown. She didn't know who she was at that point. She didn't know if she was even real, because everything, she was able to understand people's feelings, and she took on sort of too much. I've read somewhere where it comes to like this empathy, there's actually two distinct components of empathy. We have cognitive empathy, so that is sort of understanding how someone thinks. So that's the cognitive side. You understand how they think based on sort of what they say. And then there's affective empathy, which is actually feeling what they feel. That is more of a, if you're crying, I sort of have that sort of feeling to cry myself. Which one would you say you're higher in? Would you say you're higher in, because there's some people that are stronger in one thing than the other. Would you say you're higher in cognitive empathy or affective empathy?
I'd probably say maybe, I think cognitive. I think I'm a
Cognitive.
bit higher in. I think, what was the other one? Sorry.
So cognitive, understanding how someone thinks,
Yeah.
and affective, which is actually feeling what they feel.
I think I think it's hard for me to feel sometimes that same, I guess, feeling that they have. Like, I could understand it. I could understand where they're coming from. And I think
Yeah.
that's probably more so how I think of things. Like, I'm always, like, I can visualize, or like I could sort of, get to that sort of conclusion, almost like I guess a bit like an equation. Like, I can understand the points that make to get to that sort of feeling.
Yeah.
But I don't think, I think I struggle with also feeling that same thing at the same time, because I think there's that understanding that it's not me.
Yeah.
So I think because of that, that really does stop the feeling, unless it's something that is, sort of connected to me,
Or you've experienced
or I've
yourself.
experienced it. Yeah, it's very rare that
You'll actually
also feel that.
And it's crazy. That research I was talking about is that whichever one you actually lean heavier to, it directly impacts the way you handle conflicts.
Okay.
If you think about this. So what do you think about that? How does that make sense to you?
That would make sense, because I think, obviously we know that emotions can affect sort of what you say and the decisions you make.
Yeah.
So if you have sort of a more, like, internal empathy, and you internally feel the same feelings that the other person is, then I guess your decisions, or like your actions, or the words, will probably be a bit better. Or
Would you say better?
I would say
So
it would
better?
be, because if you're sort of like, at that point, you are almost putting yourself in their shoes almost.
Okay.
At that point. So like, at that point, you really do feel what they feel. Okay, maybe you might not make the best decisions because of it, because at the same
There you
time,
go.
would they make the best decision in that same
Yeah.
situation?
Yeah.
But I guess you'll make similar, it depends on the type of conflict, but you'll definitely make similar decisions, or come to a similar conclusion that the other person is feeling. But if you're, more the cognitive, then you still have a bit of a level head to it. Like,
Yeah.
you
There's
can
more logic.
there's a bit more logic now
Yeah.
to your decisions, and to your actions, and to your
Yeah.
words. So then again, I guess at that point, again, it could go 50-50, because of that, you might be able to say maybe the right thing, but not the right thing that the person wanted to hear.
That's the thing.
But or it could be the other side, where because of that, you're able to make a decision that would still benefit them, that they wouldn't be able to take,
Yeah.
because of how they feel, or because of their sort of
Yeah.
views. So yeah, I guess it's a bit of a 50-50. I wouldn't say that phrase is well, no, I would say, yeah, it is true, but I guess it's a 50-50 whether it's good or bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wouldn't say, yeah. I get what you're saying. And I think it's even important, like I've experienced this myself, where I've had to think And I've had a sort of thought process myself of how to handle a certain situation. I went through it logically, and to me, it's sound. It's sound. It makes sense. I won't give the scenario, but like, yeah, I've had situations where I've thought, yeah, this is what I would do in this scenario, and I think this is what everyone should do. But then you get someone else that has a different opinion, and you ask them why, and they explain it. And then being an empathetic person, having that cognitive empathy that I mentioned, means that you understand how they think now. And that sort of, it doesn't change what you think in yourself.
Yeah.
It doesn't change who you are as a person and what you think, but it reframes your perception of other people from that point. You're like, okay, I understand why you think that way now. Here's my reasoning. You find a middle
you're
ground.
able to,
So you're able to conflict resolute better with that one as well. But I think that goes with effective empathy as well, because feeling what someone else feels, if you are depressed right now and I can feel that depression with you, sort of, I can say the things to say to help you in that depression. I can help you, because obviously I'm currently not depressed, but if I feel how you're feeling, I know how to get you out of the depression to be sort of
better. Or to feel
depression. Maybe not the best one, but like sadness or something like that, you know what to say. So it's not necessarily which one is better or worse. It depends which one you use in certain situations. Yes, we might lean heavily more into the cognitive side of things, because I think as guys, we're very logical based, so we're more so trying to understand people and what they think, so that we can actually say something logical or something to solution driven. We want to solve the problem. Whereas affective empathy, I would say, leans more into the other gender. Where they can understand feelings a bit better than we might do. So I think a mix of both is good, and that's, I think, why, you know, relationships work the way they do. We have one side that's more logical, one side is a bit more feeling, and they learn from each other. You know, being able to understand how you feel can help situations. Being able to understand how some things helps in situations too. So it just depends. It just depends. Yeah. And I think it's quite interesting that all of these conversations that we're having is spawning from a film. A movie, which is crazy. And it's interesting because this film, it represents characters. It puts characters making decisions, like you've just mentioned before, that they believe is right. They believe is the truth. The government agency that said, no, we're not going to tell the people because it could break infrastructure and people are going to riot in the streets. And then you have the other side that say, no, let the people know everything, because why would you withhold this information? At what point does sort of your personal beliefs, your personal morals become dangerous? At what point?
I guess it's usually the point is usually when it's now impacting others.
Okay.
I think usually for the negative is that's usually the point where it becomes too much, is where your decisions or your morals or your actions or your thoughts are now having an effect on others usually it would be for the negative, but yeah, I think that's usually it would usually be at that point. But at the same time, it's hard to know because, like I said, like you said, it's like from the person's point of view, it is the right thing. You know what I mean? And it's hard to almost justify it at the same time. Like, it's hard to say you're wrong or you're right, or, you know, it's for some things, it's a bit more nuanced.
Okay.
You know, it's harder to say for definite.
But would you say if someone was objectively wrong, sort of what makes it objectively wrong?
Yeah, I think then at that point, it would go into like what other people's sort of morals and what society as a whole thinks.
That's the thing.
So yeah, I think, if you were to boil down everything to its base form, then I guess it is hard. Like, there really is no like direct, this is absolutely wrong, this is absolutely right. There's very, very few of it, because a lot of it is based on things like upbringing, based off the surroundings, the economy, the people around you, the community experiences, all that sort of stuff. So it is a lot harder to come to like a definitive when it comes to things like morals, especially.
Would you then say that if everyone shared the same morals, it makes it easier to spot when things are good and bad?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, if everyone had the same viewpoint on specific things, then if something was to come up, everyone would sort of know. Like it almost becomes it didn't need to be written at that point. It's like if everyone knows this certain thing is wrong or this certain thing is right,
then they wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Or they would do it or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then there wouldn't be conflict.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be conflict, funny enough. Again, I want to just preface all of this is coming, all of these thought processes are coming from a movie.
Yeah.
And it showed all of this in said movie that there is a sort of subjective morality that we're living in the world today, where there is one side that says, no, we can't do this, and then the other side is saying we should do this. Unfortunately, there is no middle ground. And you can try and see both. Being empathetic means you can see both.
Yeah.
But
at the same time, you still do have to make a choice.
There has to be a choice
on one or the other. You can't fence it.
You can't fence it. And that's what I liked about the movie. It really showed the stances that you have to take. Yes, main character was very empathetic. She was very empathetic to even the so-called villains of the movie. But we see that
she made a choice.
Yeah. She made a choice to disclose. To make sure the whole world knows. So
even after seeing
from their point of views, even after being empathetic to why they want to hold it off from the whole world. And I know we mentioned about things that shape our sort of morality, which is again why I love this movie. It touched on faith as well. That faith can really shape your morals, your morals, and your view of morality in that kind of way. It's quite an interesting movie, and I really recommend anyone to just give this movie a watch. Disclosure Day. Go into it with a mind of not just seeing it as a sci-fi, not just seeing it as an alien movie, seeing it for the themes, the message that it's trying to bring, and sort of put it into your own life and try and see where there can be applications to it. Because I feel like movies, TV shows, they have some kind of application to your life. You want to sort of gain something from them, not just for viewing purposes. You actually want to not just consume, but actually use what you're consuming in your life. It's true. TV shows, movies, they shape sort of how we talk. Sometimes we watch a movie that's inspirational, a main character that you're like, I really aspire to be like this person. And then you try and embody them. You walk the way they do. You try and act the way they do.
You say their phrases. Also.
You say their phrases, their catchphrase, because you like this character. And I think that's what you should be doing when you go into movies. You need to look at the themes, what it comes with. Like Spider-Man, for instance, that we recently watched. There was themes to it that you can take from, of never giving up or leaving the past in the past, or even how to overcome grief and sadness and rejection. Like so many different themes that you can actually really learn from, and again, growing as a person. Like movies are to be viewed for sure, but also to be acted on in a way. Yeah, there should be something that you take off from. I really enjoyed Disclosure Day.
Same.
Give me a rating. What was
so I think I currently have it at a, let's see, let me check what I put it at. Disclosure Day. I think I put it at a 8.5. Yeah, 8.5 out of 10.
8.5. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I have roughly about the same on that one. So sort of to wrap up these two conversations that we've had, the Batman, visually pleasing to look at. It invokes an emotion in us because of how it looks. Colors, evoke feelings at the
Yeah.
end of the day. And I feel like movies need to be doing that. And we saw this sort of journey of the Batman going from, you know, exacting vengeance to choosing empathy, choosing to save people. That's he is a hero by nature. Disclosure Day being again about the emotional side of things, understanding emotions and empathy as well. We see the connection between that as well. And Disclosure Day was also a nice looking.
Yeah.
Again, like you mentioned, it looked good.
Visually good, yeah.
Visually, it was good. We've mentioned these two movies. They don't seem related at all. The Batman and Disclosure Day. Do you think that's a coincidence that they both touch on empathy? Is this just the most universal thing that humans should have?
Yeah, I think it's because it's usually the most important lesson as well. Or the most, as well as the most impactful lesson. Like when Batman became more empathetic, became more aware of, you know, the people around him and actually trying his hardest to save them now, I think that's where his character grew a lot. You know, like we see a huge difference in him when we compare him to the start. And I think same thing with Disclosure Day, where we see the impacts that her empathy was having now on other people as well. We're seeing it shows just how impactful, how important it is. And I think a lot of movies are always trying to leave you with something, or to leave you with something to a bit like almost learn from. And I think empathy is a key one that I think a lot of movies tend to or like to show, because it's very applicable. Like how we've discussed, there's a lot of places in our lives that we can always apply it, and also being able to see it in like a movie as well helps to what's the word, like helps to just like
Conceptualize it.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think that's why there's this sort of like a view to always trying to sort of get empathy into it in some way.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, we've had some good discussions today. Looking forward to the next episode.
Yeah.
We'll be reviewing Spider-Man.
Yes.
I have some of the themes that we talked about today be brought up in that one, but that'll be a full deep dive into that. Review what worked, what didn't, what we liked, thoughts. I know Josh has many.
Yeah, I have a lot
He
of
has a
thoughts on
lot
that
of
movie.
thoughts on that one. But yeah, I hope you really enjoyed these two episodes that we had today. I had fun doing them, to be fair.
Same.
Yeah,
we're back.
We're back, finally. We're going to be regular with uploading. In fact, because of how many episodes we've got lined up, we're potentially going to be batch recording them and then shipping them pretty much in the same week. So we can catch up on missed episodes to get back into
to
it.
binge as well.
Yeah, something to binge, yeah. And something to really, hopefully you could put on. Should be shorter as well than last time. I'm trying to go down to a couple minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes episodes. But yeah, thanks for listening to this podcast. I'm your host Theo. This is and it's Josh.
Yep.
And this is Totally Justified. See you on the next episode.
See ya.